I made $4,500 in 5 days on Airbnb, and I don't think that $170,000 is enough for Californians to survive on anymore. Mainly because I was working as a pharmacist for about 7 years, and I was in pharmacy for about 8 years, starting as a clerk, intern, and then pharmacist, and it was cool. I had a lot of fun. And I think that experience itself kind of just shows you what life is really like. Is you'll find something new, you'll think about it, and you want to try it, and you just go for it. And after the 15 years, it was again. I still don't regret the journey, but it was expensive, and I didn't make enough money coming out of pharmacy school. I made around $170,000, and that's with me trading probably like 50 to 60 hours every single week as a manager, and that's including my bonus. And on top of that, it was just taxed so heavily. I got a $20,000 bonus, and they took $10,000 pretty much out of the bat. And my salary was cool, but honestly, even though like my title I think was like 40 hours, I was salaried, so I was going in when I wasn't supposed to be. And that's my fault, obviously. So I'm not blaming the company, but whatever I do, no matter what it is in life, I try to do the best I can. And for me, not showing up on the extra days would have been a no-go, because I would have left a lot of things that I didn't want to leave undone. So I'm telling you this story mainly because it was a very rewarding work. The pay just wasn't good enough. And back in the days when I was 18, no one ever told me that pharmacists didn't really make that much. And to be honest, my only mentors were other pharmacists. And at the time, they were in a decent situation where inflation wasn't too crazy. Pharmacists weren't getting pay cuts. I don't know why we're getting pay cuts nowadays, to be honest. Like, someone made a post about it on Instagram the other day. Like, average starting salary was $135 a few years ago. Now it's like $95,000. What are you gonna do with a degree that takes 8 years on average? Is what I hear from most people, and costs almost $200,000, and then come out of school with $95,000, and then on top of that, again, you're losing a bunch to taxes, and if you want to invest, good luck. You're gonna be either like living with your parents, or you gotta find a place to rent with roommates, like, and that's just not what I expected out of a doctorate degree. So anyone who's a doctorate and watching this, I honestly really feel for you, because you're probably in the same boat. Like, some people told me my $170,000 salary was really good. And comparing it to other doctorates, I think the answer, yeah, it is really good. But overall, it's just not enough for anyone for Californians. And they always say, comparison is the thief of joy. So just don't compare. Just know that 170 really isn't enough. Like, again, I kept maybe $99,000 after all expenses, Medicare, investing, and it's probably technically less on my best year of me like working 60 hours every single week for like 2 years. And if I didn't eat peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, live with my parents, even though this is kind of a joke, I did kind of live part-time in my car because it's quite comfy, and it's also just more affordable than actually affording a primary home. It really wasn't that much, especially for a sacrifice of 8 years of your life, to only make $170,000 off the bat. And I've been getting a lot of slack about this too, because I've been posting it on threads, and everyone's like, 170 is a lot. 170 is a lot. I was like, yeah, you're right. I mean, honestly, all the people who have made it work with less are absolute miracle workers. But now, like, seeing that there's so many different options to actually make money, such as like this Airbnb business thing that I'm going into, which I'll maybe talk very briefly. But yeah, it's just like, anyone who would tell you that doctors make a lot of money, they do at the end of it. And if you're willing to work 30 years, but who goes into something when they're a child and it sticks with it? Like, imagine like you tell your parents, hey, when you're 5, I love GI Joes, and now you're 18, and they're like, oh, you don't like GI Joes anymore? That's so weird. But we kind of expect the same thing out of like our 18-year-olds. Everyone's like, oh, you don't know what you got. You don't know what you have planned yet for your life. You're 18 years old already. Where are you going to go for college? Are you just going to stay home and be a loser? And that's kind of like what I felt like. So at 18 years old, like, I was kind of like committed. Like, oh man, I don't want to be a loser. I want to pick a path and like kind of commit to something and show that I can be something. So 18, like, I found a job. Before that, I was working as a gas station clerk at a family family-owned business. And yeah, I just started working at a pharmacy. This is not bad. Like it's pretty fun. But honestly, when I think back about it, like the thing that was actually fun was just like having some sort of sense of direction and a sense of growth. But I didn't realize like following the 15-year road that I took was gonna lead me to like a path where like $170,000 sounds a lot, but it's again more like less than $100,000. So I wish instead of people would tell me like, hey, pharmacists make a lot of money, they make 170. I wish they would just be like, no, they make $100,000 net. And then just keep in mind that in 15 years, you don't know what expenses are going to be like for a home. So yeah, these homes that are like you want to live in, because that's the American dream. Like you want to be able to afford a family, you want to be able to buy groceries, buy food, buy some booze to celebrate, go on vacation. And if you add up all those things, childcare, having a spouse, having a wife, I mean, of course, like you could be like dinks, dual income, no kids. But for me, I've always imagined myself as a dad. So $99,000 for all that in California, where home prices are already like $1 million plus for a 4-bedroom, 2-bath near San Diego, where I live. Fuck. Oh, excuse my language. But yeah, I just don't think it's enough. And then after discovering this Airbnb business, like especially like rural Airbnbs, it's kind of put like a sour taste in my mouth. Like, man, I can't believe I was ready to give up 40 more years of my life, because I'm 33 now. If I work till I'm 73, like I'll have a good income. Like if I play it out, it's gonna be at least like 1.5 to $2 million if I'm earning a little bit, and then I spend some on myself and hopefully my family, and I'm just really frugal. Like I would maybe be able to invest like $2 million if I'm not going super crazy. Yeah, that's why I just don't think that it shouldn't be sold like that. And if you want to become a doctor or become in healthcare, I think you should have a lot of money first, because I think it's an expensive choice, first of all, to go into this field and serve other people. And if you think it's out of like prestige and stuff, the other day, like as a pharmacist, thank God there was like plexiglass. Someone tried to spin my face. So don't think it's just for prestige. I mean, of course, there's some coolness that comes with it. And when I get injured, one big benefit is like I don't run to the hospital. Like I'm like, oh, I know what's going on. I know how to treat myself, and I know that most of like health stuff is healthcare. Of course, there's always things that you need yearly checks on, obviously. But if I get like a cut and I'm like, oh man, is it gonna get infected? I know how to do general self-care. Or if I'm like having a stuffy nose, I know, oh, I have allergies. Give myself some Claritin, do some Sudafed, and you'll feel better in the morning. Take some rest. And then I know how to avoid food. So there's benefits. But if you're going into healthcare, don't do it for the money. Do it because you want to serve people. Because again, $170,000 for 8 years of school. And even if you're a doctor, I gotta say, if you're like a surgeon, you'll go in there and maybe you'll make $500,000 to $600,000 a year afterwards. It's usually 12 years of school. It's really hard. And just keep in mind, by the time you're done with all this stuff, you'll be 30 years old, and you'll be playing catch up. If you just took that same 12 years, maybe worked a job and went up like the corporate ladder a little bit for 12 years, you probably could have $1 million invested if you did it right, or if you start some sort of business or side hustle. And it all comes down to personal finance, which I'm big on that. Once you understand personal finance, learning how to save, learning how to invest, you can go on to bigger things like building businesses like these Airbnbs. Or if you have a mentor, you can go straight to like Airbnbs and start buying these $200,000 homes out of like Ohio, Kentucky, West Virginia, Florida, that will make $4,500 in 5 days.